Hi, welcome back to the Space News Leading Women series. I'm correspondent Debra Werner, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Negar Feher of Orbital Outpost X CEO. Hi, Negar.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you.
Very
Very
nice to
excited.
talk to you because even though I see you in passing in conferences, I don't think we've ever really taken the time to go through all these questions I'd like to ask you.
I completely agree.
So for people who aren't familiar with Orbital Outpost X, how do you describe it?
So at Orbital Outpost X, we are basically building up the backbone for the space economy to become more modular and more autonomous. And what we're developing is something as the first MVP. It's called Squid. It's a secure, quick, universal interface device that you see here. I have like a little mock-up, 3D printed mock-up of it that you can use to mate payloads to platforms, to satellite buses, stations, rovers, etc., transfer power, data, fluids, RF, and do it in a very secure manner while monitoring everything that's going across the interface using a suite of sensors that we have built into this that allows you to operate them autonomously. We also have software that allows you to do things using AI expert systems. That is what really enables the autonomy and the SaaS model we're going after that we feel like our ecosystem is really missing. So I'm very excited about it. We're trying to enable this to become a standard across the ecosystem. And we feel like once we standardize these interfaces, it allows for more modularity and more things to be able to easily connect to each other to go to space. And we believe now's the time to do it because there's this whole crazy expansion of the space ecosystem thanks to the reduced costs of launch. So now is the time to really standardize this and make it more modular and autonomous.
What drew you to this company and to taking on the role of CEO?
So I actually had a lot of options in terms of companies that I could join as the CEO. And what drew me to Orbital Outpost X was the visionary team that they had and the vision of what they want to enable. I really felt like after all the previous, working for large corporations and small startups, that sustainability was really lacking in the space ecosystem. And in order to enable more sustainability in space, I felt like modularity is one of the keys that needed to be solved. Modularity leads to autonomy, leads to more things being able to work with each other, and leads to a more sustainable future in space. And moving away from the one-time use, truck everything, like create more debris, to a model where you can actually reuse things and build them to each other, remove them, replace them, etc. So that's what drew me. In terms of why I decided to take on the CEO role, I saw that as a challenge, as a personal challenge, and I decided that it was time to try it. I'd always worked for CEOs, but never actually taken on that role, and I was very excited to actually hold the reins myself because I learned a lot of what not to do, and I'm ready to now employ that in the ecosystem. And to add to all of this, also, I felt like I had the privilege and of having a lot of mentors and a lot of role models that really propelled my career to where I am today. Role models like Gwen Shotwell. I got to meet these people, one-on-one in small settings and hear their stories. Don Harms and others, CEOs of large aerospace corporations that really encouraged me and gave me a vision of, oh, I can be that person too. And I want to kind of pay that forward and be that role model, hopefully for other women and other founders to take on these challenges as well. So that's a little bit about why I am where I am and why I'm excited about it.
When you look to the future, you mentioned how the cost of launch is falling. Are commercial space stations part of that future that you see?
I think they are. I think especially because NASA is planning to retire the ISS deorbited, as you've heard already. And I feel like having a station or a persistent platform up there is really key for a lot of different research, microgravity research. You can just look at all the inventions that came out of the ISS and all the benefits it's provided humanity. We need a lot more research on what happens to humans when they're in space for prolonged periods of time to enable us to become a more spacefaring peoples. It also allows for tourism. There are a lot of people interested in going to space, and commercial space stations can enable that. And one thing that really excites me about space stations is allowing you to make life here on Earth more sustainable, because sustainability is one of my core values. And I see that as a stepping stone to moving heavy industries to space. So instead of mining and doing all these polluting industries we do here on Earth, we can do that in space. And there are so many resources on asteroids and other objects that we can mine to provide a lot of the resources we need here on Earth, and you can do it more sustainably from space. So those are just a couple of reasons. And lastly, I would say space in general is moving from more of a government play field to more of a commercial ecosystem. So it would make more sense to have commercial space stations than government-run space stations going forward, to allow for more public-private partnerships, allow the governments to utilize the commercially run stations that can run more economically and at a faster pace than what the government stations can do. And I'm no ding to ISS. I think it's been a great platform. I think it's really necessary. I mean, honestly, it deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for what it's accomplished, for allowing people from all nations around the world to work together to do research and on a common ground. So I think it's been great. But I do think now it's time for more commercial stations to come online. And that's why I think it's necessary.
We're in a time of rapid technological change. What are the opportunities that presents for Orbital Outpost X, and what challenges does that bring?
So we see the space ecosystem and the number of objects being launched to space today growing exponentially. If you look at the trends of where we were back in the early days of the space race to where we are today, you can see this exponential curve. And as that curve is growing exponentially, it's the exact time for which you want to really establish standards and enable more modularity in the space ecosystem. So that provides a really big opportunity for us to come in right now. Also, following up on what I told you previously, as the government markets are being replaced by commercial markets really running the space ecosystem, that presents another opportunity. And as this transition is happening, establishing more of the standards around how we can become a more modular, autonomous ecosystem is another opportunity we have. On the flip side, the challenge is, as you're trying to incorporate a lot of this modular ecosystem, market adoption is a challenge. So when you have a lot of different standards and not everyone adopting one of them, it's a challenge. And getting everybody to kind of agree on one is going to be the hard part. And the way we're going about mass market adoption is we have a lot of go-to-market strategies that we're employing to get people to try using multimodal interconnects like the ones we're providing to ease the burden of connecting things to each other. And it reduces the number of interconnects they need to use. It makes it easier. It allows them to autonomously monitor things in space that you can't do today, and a lot of other factors. And we're doing this with some unique strategies that we're employing to overcome this market adoption challenge. I think some of the reasons, like, for example, the refueling ports haven't been, standardized and everyone hasn't rallied around one, is because a lot of the ones that were offered to the market today weren't androgynous, meaning both sides were not the same. They would only sell you one side, and you get locked into using that one particular supplier. Or they were too expensive, or they didn't have all the modes of transfer that was needed, or it was only for one type of fuel and not all the fuels that people needed. And they weren't as multimodal as they needed to be. And they were lacking a lot of the software and the monitoring needed to make people feel comfortable. Like if it doesn't have cybersecurity, they don't want their data going through this interface. Who knows who's going to take it away from them? So there's a lot of elements I feel like that have been blocking and challenging modularity in space, and we're ready to take those on. So I'm excited about that.
So I want to turn for a minute to your career. You began at primes, including Lockheed Martin and Space Systems Loral, which became Maxar, and in recent years have worked for startups. What made you make that switch?
So I studied aerospace engineering. I was very excited to, work in this ecosystem on cutting edge technologies. And I noticed after working for Lockheed and Maxar for about 13 years, which I loved, by the way, no dings on them, that if we really wanted to ensure sustainability in space and to really disrupt space going forward, none of these heritage players would have the capability to do it. And the disruption would have to come from the outside. And I learned that as I was working in some of these groups. I was working in Maxar in their strategy and a product strategy and development group that basically core mission was to help diversify the company away from geocom satellites that they were building at the time to other markets. And it was like one challenge after another. And then I concluded at the end, as I was working with more of the new space economy, that these people in the new space economy and these companies were going to be the ones to change the industry, not the heritage player. And there's room for both, but I felt like I wanted to be on the disruption side. And that's what kind of drew me into the space startup ecosystem. And I never look back. I'm so excited, so happy. I felt like I went from where I was before to a new ecosystem. I was open my wings and now I can fly and make a huge difference and really see the impact of every action I'm making. It's been amazing. And yeah, people are like, oh, Negar, why don't you go back and work for Maxar? I was like, no, I don't think I could ever do that again because I like the flexibility, the lack of bureaucracy, the pace at which we can innovate and change things, and seeing it happen before my eyes and not waiting 20 years for it to happen. So that's what drew me to where I am today, and I'm very excited to be here and very excited to also partner with the heritage players. I think they play a key role here too in terms of adopting everything that the startups introduce to the ecosystem. So everyone needs to work hand in hand to make this happen, but I feel more at home on the startup side.
Great. What advice do you give people who are interested in entering the space sector? And is it any different if it's not a white male aerospace engineer, which is the stereotype most people have of space workers?
Yes. And it was funny, even, going throughout my college, at Cal Poly and Stanford, I was like one of the two females in all my classes. And throughout my career, it's actually academia is worse than industry. Academia, the percentages were much lower. In industry, it's about 20%. So the advice I would give is, sometimes you have to be really hard-headed, and I found it more challenging in academia than when I was in industry. So if you're a student and you're going through the motions and you're a minority, don't get intimidated, stand your ground. If you feel discriminated against, voice it and make sure that the people who are discriminating against you understand that they're doing it. A lot of times it's subconscious and they don't even realize that they're doing it. It's some sort of unconscious bias that they have against you just because they're not used to seeing people like you. So I learned how to combat that I had to very early in my career in order to succeed. And that basically gave me really thick skin to help me go throughout the rest of my career. The second thing I would say, if you're already in this industry or in another industry, not in the space industry, looking to enter, there's room for everybody on all different backgrounds. You do not have to be an aerospace engineer. I know I'm an aerospace engineer telling you this, but I have changed my role from engineering to so many other things throughout my career. I started out as an engineer, then I became a manager and a program manager and a product manager, and I went into business, and I don't have a business degree. And I've tried everything at these companies. And honestly, any background could have done these jobs, and you don't have to be an engineer to do a lot of the tasks in this industry. So if you're finance background, if you're in marketing, sales, I mean, you name it, communications, etc. There's room for you in the space industry. And I hope you do consider joining us, because right now, as I said, as our market is growing exponentially, what's crucial to maintain this growth is diverse set of talent. So if we keep on trying to innovate with the talent pool we have right now, it's not going to be possible. And at some point, we're going to stagnate. So we really need people from all different backgrounds to come join us in this, race to space and in this gold rush era that we're living in right now, and help us build all those picks and shovels to go there. And I'm excited to be at one of the companies building the picks and the shovels. And all of you could be part of this too. And it's such an exciting industry to be part of. I have friends that work in other industries, and they're always envious. They're like, "Oh my God, you rocket scientists, you have so much fun, etc." And I'm like, there's nothing stopping you from joining us. We love all these people. And honestly, we have a really great culture in the space ecosystem, the space market. People are not backstabby. People are very respectful of each other. Everybody, I've worked with so many of my competitors. I became best friends with some of my competitors. There was no animosity. We worked with each other to make the customer's life easier. I mean, I've handed over customers to my competitors gladly, and this doesn't happen in other industries. And because we're such a, nascent growing industry, we all have to work together to grow the pie together. So I really appreciate the culture of collaboration and people wanting to work really closely with each other and enable each other, and not feel like, oh, you're my competition, I'm not going to work with you, or oh, you're competing for my job in this industry, we're going to be enemies and I'm not going to work closely with you. It's actually been the opposite. And I learned this from talking to my friends in other industries. They're like, oh my God, like my boss hates me because she thinks I'm going to take her job, or he thinks I'm going to do this. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, I feel like I get promotions all the time, and I never felt like anybody felt threatened by each other. We were all trying to help raise each other up instead of the other way around. So I encourage everybody to try working in the space industry, start new companies, join the existing ones. It was so hard when I was at some of my previous companies. Like when I was at Momentous, it was impossible to recruit software engineers and other people. There's room for everybody. And I hope that more people, take the leap of faith and join this industry, because, we have nowhere to go but up. And the more of you come and diversify, the more likely it's going to succeed. So if anybody wants to reach out to me and talk to me about my journey, all the different types of jobs I've had, how I got here, how you can join the industry, more than happy to. And I hope we, attract more and more exquisite talent from all the different fields, because we really need it to move forward.
That's great. You're a great spokeswoman for that. It is a message that people continue to convey. And I do feel that camaraderie at all these events. People are moving from company to company. People have friends in various companies and government agencies and academia. And I liked what you said. There's nowhere to go but up, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, honestly, like I'm like literally very close friends with people who work for my competition. I've hired them, they've hired me, like everybody loves everybody and nobody holds something against it. Oh, you worked for that company before? I'm not gonna. It's exactly the opposite. In fact, they're like, oh, wow, you were trying this new thing and, we were competing with you and I thought you did this better than we did. Let's work together to make this solution to this problem work. I mean, our challenges and our problems are so large that we can't even afford to like sit here and be, petty with each other about them. It's just nobody would move forward if we operated our industry that way. So I think it's a breath of fresh air. And I think anybody who wants a hard challenge should definitely try the space industry, because that's what you're gonna get. And it's gonna be so gratifying at the end. You're like, oh my God, I did that. That totally changed my life. So hopefully more people, see it that way and don't feel intimidated to join us. I went once to this Society of Women Engineers, I think it was IEEE conference, and I was a keynote there, and that was one of the questions, is like, how do you get into space industry? I was like, all of you could join the space industry. I don't care if you're an electrical engineer, a software engineer, or not even an engineer, and you're in business degree. We need creative people on all fronts, and that's what's going to help us grow. So I hope that message was clear.
I think it was. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. It was a pleasure.
The pleasure was mine. And one last note I want to say, Deborah, is thank you so much for doing this. I think that the more of this information we convey to everybody, the more leaders will be encouraged to join our ecosystem, the more people will get excited about space. And, the more we're going to build out this economy that's, waiting there to be mined. Everyone's like, wow, like I want you to understand how big this opportunity is. And all the reports talking about the space ecosystem becoming a $1.8 trillion industry within the next 5 to 10 years, I think it's true, because there are so many opportunities sitting out there that people are just not going after that. And the reason I think it's there is because people are not going after them. There's just not enough resources. The tools are there, the technology is there. We just need the people to go make it happen. So I'm excited about that. And I'm really happy that you're putting some limelight on this and on some of the lack of diversity issues that I'm hoping we can overcome within the next couple of years. It's already getting better, and I have hope that it's going to continue to get, even more diverse, as more countries are becoming spacefaring, as, you can see even with the lunar landers, it's not just the US, and, you see China going there, you see India going there, Japan. And I hope that there's 20 more countries that go within the next 5 years. And that's what's going to really help us, push the space ecosystem. If only one country is going after it, it's never going to grow at the exponential rate we want it to. So it's a very exciting time. I hope we all help grow this ecosystem together, and very grateful to everything you've done, Deborah, to put a highlight on and shine some limelight on it.
Thank you. Your enthusiasm is infectious.
Thanks.